I've leveled the slab before, but working with all the angle joinery was definitely a little bit of a brain tease. But it was fun, and like I said, I just loved the design, and so that's what kind of got me, I got to do this. And you know, the fellow that sent me the plans, even though it was just a rough sketch, it really got me started, because try and scale this from a drawing is very difficult. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to do that. But if you just have the width, height, and depth, it's really hard to kind of know like what this width's supposed to be. You know, I got to the point where I was using calipers on a blown up picture from his website to try and just check my dimensions to see if aesthetically it was gonna be right. And it definitely changed my mind once or twice on here, like what width I wanted here. I think that's 7/8, and that's maybe 1.25 inches. But yeah, it was a fun project, and you know, it incorporates some veneering too, which I know not many people do. But you know, I mean, the wood that's available in veneer is just unlimited, and you know, because this is captured. Yeah, exactly. And you know, this is a perfect candidate for veneer, because the only time veneer really becomes a problem is if you're trying to like veneer to an edge like this, because sure enough, somehow that's going to get chipped away. But if it's captured in a panel like this, or like on this shelf, it's set down in like a little bit of a step edge, it's not going to, nothing's going to happen to it. So, like, veneer gets a bad rap, but if it's designed right into your project, it's, you know, it just adds to it. So, I think that was it.
Did you send a picture of this to Jeffrey?
I'm going to, but you know, and that's another thing too. I'm trying to set up like a little photo booth in my garage, so it's not, you know, the camera pictures. So, but yeah, when I get done, I'm going to definitely do it. He was a very nice guy. He's it was fun exchanging emails to him or with him. So.
Could you talk about the process you go through when you take on the jointery for the rails to the legs? Because when you first cut, obviously it's not going to match. How do you mark it, and were you refining with the hinges or with the plane?
So, you know, I work off the template a lot. So, like, this would go right here. So, this is my bottom registration mark that had to be parallel to the floor, and this was this registration mark. And then, so I knew where my joinery was, and on that, yeah, at least on here, I had where, you know, where I was going to have the template, or you know, the floating mortise going through, the floating tenon rather. So, as far as registration, when I started from the template to kind of know where this was going to go, and then on these mock-ups, same thing. You can see my line here, and then I wanted to make this. I'm trying to remember which one I paralleled. I think I paralleled the back. So I had a reference off of, or some face. So it would be the same front and back. So I can see where I have you know, a scribe line up and down, and then I'm just thinking through how I did this. But so basically, it's in the layout. And you just have to, you know, you could put that, honestly, you know, you could put this floating tenon almost anywhere. It's got to be the same on each part.
It's not the tenon that I'm concerned about. Is you've got the two faces that, from where I'm sitting here, look like they match beautifully.
Okay.
Did you have to? I mean, you had to refine that. And my question is, how do you mark that? How do you pair that?
Okay, so I knew what this angle was from my working template here, which, you know, according to the drawing, it was 7¼ degrees. So I cut that on the table saw. You know, I made some trowel pieces first. I cut that angle on the table saw. And
oh, so that's straight, those joints?
Yes, yeah. That right here is a straight cut, just
Okay.
angled. That's like 7¼ degrees. And the front of this is also 7¼ but then, when I shaped that leg, it was the whole radius this way. But then I just planed like a little flat. So that was going to butt up to a flat.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you had that, you know, then you're halfway there. You can put this together without any any templates, and you're tight all the way through, well, then at least you know your distance between the stretchers.
So I didn't know, I realized that, I mean, that's a
Okay.
share technique of the Chippendales, where they're working from a flat, that's the flat registration, and then everything around that is curved.
Yes, yeah. So like if you had to, we were talking about that with a few people earlier, if you had to like have this on a little radius and then, you know, kind of take this end grain and match that radius, I mean, you know, you're old trying to figure that out. So because it's such a subtle curve, to put that flat on it, you know, your eye will never really pick that up. And that was the only way to really do it. And so a lot of this stuff was just register off the table saw. You know, but really, you know, and then the other thing too is, you know, taking your time, getting that bandsaw set up right, so you can cut really close to the line. Because anything that's away from the line, you got to clean up. And you know, you got 4 of the main legs, and there's 4 sides on each. So that's 16 surfaces you got to clean up. So really, getting that bandsaw to work right, and you know, cut just proud of the line. And then, you know, fair to the line with the spoke shaves, or however you decide to do it. And then, and then everything is the same thickness too, because, you know, if it's not, then, you know, the parts aren't necessarily gonna go together without a lot more finesse. So.
Nice, very nice.
Mark, in retrospect, would you do anything different? Is there anything after completing the project you think you would have done different, or it didn't come out like you were happy with?
No, honestly, I learned a lot from it. I don't think I would have done anything different. It would have helped if I knew, you know, I learned a lot of stuff the hard way, how I was going to put that joinery together.
Right, so you had no idea how this gentleman put his table
No,
together?
no.
You never talked with him?
Well, yeah, no, I did talk to him, and you know what? He didn't use floating tenons. He's got a mortising machine that will angle, the head will angle. I know that. So he's cutting a lot, you know, not with floating tenons. But I'm kind of using the stuff that I did have. So, so some of the chair details, like when you look at some of the 18th century chairs, you know, the tenon is not only angled down, it's angled in like 2 directions. Oh no, it's twisted and angled. So, you know.
The large top that you had to route
Yeah.
down to a thickness, is there a bandsaw? I'm sure that there's large industrial grade bandsaws that could resaw that?
Yeah,
in
probably
half?
like a bandsaw mill.
Yeah.
If you know, if you knew somebody, like Dave Pilgrim has one, I pronounce his name right, he's got a bandsaw mill. So you're right, you could probably just resaw that in half. But yeah, so that's what, that's the one thing that, whenever you cut a thick piece of wood in half, there's always a chance that you're gonna end up with 2 pieces like this. Because, you know, the inside moisture is just different than the outside.
Right.
So I was a little worried about that, and I knew I had to use the top. So, you know, even though I sent a lot
Can't
of...
you, when you do that, clamp them, take them, and then clamp them?
Yeah, you probably could, yes.
And keep
Yep.
for a
Yep.
time to keep straightening
Yeah,
out?
so it acclimates while it's under
Yes.
stress.
Would you rather not
Yeah.
have to do that?
Well, you're right, and you know, honestly, it was just, you know, it was
It's
the
just how you
fastest.
did it.
For me, it was the fastest way to get to where I needed to go.
Right,
You know?
How deep, when you surfaced the slab, how deep did you go in one session?
Maybe 3/16, no more than
One
that.
session, and that's it?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Each pass was 3/16.
Oh,
I probably did it 3 times, so maybe a half inch each time.
Wouldn't it have been easier to take like a circular saw and make like 1 inch
Curves?
curve cuts and then just chisel it and then
Um,
fine tune it to save the router barriers?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Where it was, did that take that long?
no, it didn't take that long to do it, and you know, I thought the router would live forever, so I gotta fix it. I mean, that's still a lot of work to saw curve that. I mean, that's the way they made like Bombay side chests. You would hog away that
Yeah, I
material.
mean, just to get to eliminate like 80 pounds of sawdust.
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
shot.
It's still a lot of work to do that, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's another way. Yeah.
Did you use Type-On on everything? I know you said there was some claims using Type-On for the veneer. Did you
Yeah.
use Type-On or?
No, I use old brown glue for everything. It's just for the veneer because it's got such a long glue time.
What was, can you give us a quick indication what your complaint is for this?
You know, I was looking on Wood Web, where, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but Steve knows, but wood web is more for professional guys. And I was reading forums on veneering, and I think not being rigid was one thing, but there was just a lot of people basically saying they would never use it again. So,
Do you know why?
well, I don't think it's as rigid. I think there's some compromise because of the property, so it's waterproof, but it compromises. Everybody said Type Bond 1 is the best. So even though it sets up faster, it's a better glue. At least, and that's a professional website. So it's just people's opinions that are probably using it a lot. So so the other options, if you're gluing something and if this had a big radius and it's going to have spring back, you got to use some kind of really rigid glue.
But you use a Unibond 800.
Yeah.
Unibond 800.
Yeah, Unibond.
No water.
Or, like the plastic resin glue, it's a real rigid glue line, and but it imparts water to Unibond, and there's no water added to it, so you don't have that problem. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just going by what what I read. So just one other thing on this, and I saw this. You definitely need to kind of cut a curve here, so when you're excavating the air, it's kind of balanced. So the air, when it's pulling out of the vacuum, it's actually making it balanced inside to out.
Good point. One more question. Did you start your conversations with Jeff before or after the winter conference?
Oh, I didn't see. It must have been after. Because what was this year? I started working on it. He wasn't. He was 2 years ago, right? Yeah, he didn't get awarded this year. It was 2 years ago.
That's it, this year?
I don't think so.
Well, who got the award this year?
It's the guy from California.
Oh, yeah.
2 years ago.
Okay. You're right, it was last year.
Yeah.
But that's where you met him first then?
Oh, I never met him. Just sent him an email. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm gonna meet him sometime because his shop's in New Hampshire. So. All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Very nice.